wanted to talk, say a few things this evening. Elements of spiritual practice is really what I want to talk about. And in many ways, when you talk about elements or essentials, sometimes it seems like maybe we need to skip the essentials and just go straight for the deep stuff. I often feel, just for myself, I find it quite useful to periodically check in with what it is that is actually the foundation for the various things that I feel are important in my particular approach to spirituality. One of the things that we have, which is a contemporary issue right now, it's true, I'm sure, in New Zealand, it's as true here as it is back where I am in the United States, that right now we are very, very fortunate in that pretty much any sort of city or any area that you may find yourself in today, very likely you have access to very qualified spiritual teachers and teachings from a whole variety, from the world's gamut of spiritual traditions. I mean, if this is anything like Chicago, I could go in a period of just an area of just a few blocks, and I could find qualified Tibetan teachers, Sufi teachers, theosophical groups, Hindu, Hare Krishna, the whole list. And that's a wonderful thing, because it allows us to be able to reach into these various traditions and draw on the deep wisdom that comes from many, many ages of practice and of tradition. So that's a good thing. One of the things that I see that comes out of that, however, is that it seems to me, at least, that very often, for many of us, we can even take an approach where it's much like going to a Chinese restaurant used to be, where you take something from column A, something from column B, a little bit from column C, and throw it together on the plate, and that's our meal. Which is fine, but it does seem that very often what we encounter, and an issue that might even come up for some of us, is that we have a practice that is very broad and reaches into many corners of the earth and many different types of approaches to spirituality. But while it's broad, somehow it doesn't seem to cut particularly deep. And so that can be something of a problem, because we only have so much time to use on whatever it is we're doing. And so in all of the things that we do, we want to be at least a little bit efficient about it. And our spiritual practice is no different than that. As we go along, I'm going to need to obviously talk about what I mean when I say spiritual practice. But one thing I think we can all notice, at least for me, in the world around me and among the people that I find myself among, there are certain people that somehow are outstanding. And this has been over the course of a lifetime, and for all of us, you can look and there are people that you can say, there's something about that person that draws me. And in any field that you look, the people who seem to be the ones that actually deepen and advance in that particular field all seem to have one thing in common. They don't all look the same. They don't all come from the same backgrounds. But whether you're talking about business, whether you're talking about sports, whether you're talking about any particular field of human endeavor, education, the people who seem to find a way to become stellar or outstanding in that field are people who have taken the time to actually practice, to put time into doing the things that are going to cultivate an expansion of whatever that particular ability might be. The same is true for spiritual practice. Basically, when we talk about spiritual practice, I want to demystify it. And really, it's pretty much what the two words say. Spiritual practice is nothing more and nothing less than practicing being spiritual. It's not being spiritual. I mean, just the fact that someone can cross their legs and does it on a regular basis and sit without moving doesn't necessarily mean that there's any sort of elevated spiritual status there. So we can get that one off the table right now. It's the practice of being spiritual.